She reminded me, "You promised to marry me as kids." I asked, "Does that promise still matter?" Not since he and Arya had played among the twin rivers of the settlement, building sand forts and daring each other to jump over them. The colony had changed a little. The landing pads were bigger, the domed habitats gleamed under the twin suns, but somehow it felt smaller. More familiar, more like home. Kai tightened his grip on the controls, his heart beating a little faster. Coming back wasn't just about visiting old friends. The Orion expanse had grown dangerous. Alien fleets, rogue mercenaries, and shifting trade routes had made interstellar travel unpredictable. But despite the dangers he had come, something about the message he had received tugged at him, a simple line that carried years of history. "Kai, I'm waiting for you. Remember our promise." He laughed quietly to himself. The message was childish, yes, but it carried a weight he couldn't explain. Kai had promised Arya all those years ago that they would marry. They were children then, innocent and free from worry, but that promise had been sincere. At least, it had meant something to him once. Could it still matter now? The landing pad on Leora was bustling with activity. Cargo ships arrived and departed, and settlers moved quickly, tending to daily chores. Kai stepped out of his ship, stretching after the long journey. His eyes searched the crowd. Then he saw her, Arya, standing at the edge of the platform. She had changed. Her hair, once the color of golden wheat, now had streaks of silver, but her eyes were still the same. Bright, warm, and full of that same stubborn determination he remembered from childhood. She waved, and something in Kai's chest tightened. Memories flooded back, summers spent climbing the hills outside the colony, nights staring at the stars, swearing that no matter what, they would always be together. He remembered her laughter echoing across the riverbanks, a sound that had stayed in his mind through all the years and all the distances. "Kai," she called, stepping forward. "You really came." "I did," he said, his voice rough with a mixture of nervousness and relief. "I wasn't sure if I should." Arya tilted her head, her eyes studying him carefully. "Why not?" Kai shrugged, looking down at his hands. "Life, it changes you. Promises made as kids, sometimes they don't mean the same things when you grow up." Arya frowned, but there was no anger in her expression, only a quiet challenge. "Does that mean this promise doesn't matter?" she asked softly. Kai's throat tightened. I don't know yet." For a moment the air between them was heavy, charged with memories and unspoken questions. Then Arya's lips curved into a small, confident smile. "Well, we'll see," she said. They walked through the colony together. Kai noticed how the small market had grown, with new shops selling fresh produce from hydroponic farms. Children ran around, laughing, their energy reminding him of their own youth. Arya led him past familiar streets, pointing out buildings that had changed and others that remained the same. She seemed full of life, unaffected by the passing years. And yet, there was a fire in her eyes, a determination that Kai had always admired. As they approached the river, Kai's heart caught. The riverbanks were just as they had left them, soft sand, scattered rocks, and a gentle current that whispered against the shore. Arya stopped and looked out over the water, her expression thoughtful. "Remember the fort we built here?" she asked, her voice soft, almost a whisper. Kai smiled, kneeling by a rock and tracing a pattern in the sand. "How could I forget? You insisted we make it twice as big as it needed to be, just to impress the neighborhood kids." Arya laughed, the sound warm and familiar. "And you agreed just to see me happy. You've always been easy to convince." They fell into silence, watching the water flow. The sun reflected off the river's surface, making the ripples sparkle like scattered diamonds. Kai felt the years slip away, leaving only the boy and girl they had once been. "You've changed," Arya said suddenly, turning to him. "Not just older, different, stronger, but different in a good way." Kai's lips quirked into a half-smile. "I suppose the expanse changes everyone." "It doesn't have to," she said, a spark in her eyes. "People can choose what stays the same, or at least what they hold on to. Her words lingered, and Kai realized she was talking about more than just memories. She was talking about the promise, their promise, the one they had made under the stars of Leora before the colony had even known the first starships would arrive. The conversation was interrupted by a distant hum, a sound Kai knew well. He turned to see a small patrol drone skimming the riverbank. The colony had security measures now, far beyond anything they had known as children. Arya noticed his attention and nodded. "They patrol constantly," she said. "We live on the edge of human space. There's always a risk, even here." Kai nodded, his mind wandering. Danger had always been part of life in the expanse, but here beside Arya it felt manageable, almost distant. Yet he knew better. Life was never simple, even in a quiet place like Leora. They spent the rest of the day catching up. Arya showed him the new school, the expanded hydroponic farms, and the small research facility where humans experimented with alien technologies scavenged from nearby systems. Kai was impressed. Humanity had grown resilient. Even in the shadow of alien threats, they persisted. And Arya had grown into someone remarkable. As evening approached, the twin suns dipped low on the horizon, casting golden light across the colony. They sat together on the riverbank, watching the sky darken and the first stars appear. "Do you ever wonder if we're small in the grand scheme of things?" Kai asked quietly. Arya smiled faintly. "Of course, but being small doesn't mean we're powerless. We've survived everything so far, haven't we? And besides," she nudged him gently, "sometimes the smallest people make the biggest difference." Kai looked at her, realizing how right she was. Humans had never been the strongest species in the galaxy, nor the fastest or the most advanced. But their creativity, courage, and determination had allowed them to survive against the odds, and Arya embodied all of that. She had always been fearless. She had always been clever. And she had always believed, just like he had, though he hadn't realized it until now, that the small things, the promises, the connections could shape the future. That night, Kai couldn't sleep. He lay in the small guest quarters of Arya's family home, staring at the ceiling. Memories of their childhood filled his mind, laughter, tears, dares, and promises. He thought about the promise of marriage, once innocent, now complicated by time and experience. But as he reflected, a thought took hold. Perhaps promises were like seeds. Even if buried under years and distance, they could grow if nurtured. Morning came with a soft, golden light. Kai stepped outside to find Arya waiting by the river again. She had prepared a small breakfast, fresh bread and fruit from the colony's farms. She offered it to him with a smile that seemed to say, "We're starting fresh, no matter what the past holds." Kai accepted, and as they ate together, he felt a quiet certainty forming. Whatever the future held, danger, uncertainty, or distance, this promise, this connection was worth exploring. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in decades, he felt ready to face it. The twin suns rose fully into the sky, and humanity's colony sparkled in the light. Somewhere in the vast expanse, danger waited. But here, on this quiet world, two people remembered a promise, and in remembering they found hope, not just for themselves but for the human spirit that had survived against impossible odds. Kai turned to Arya, a smile spreading across his face. "I guess we'll see if that promise still matters," Arya grinned back. "I think it does, don't you?" Kai nodded slowly. "Yes, I think it does." And with that, the first day of their reunion began, full of memories, laughter, and the quiet stirrings of a bond that neither time nor distance could erase. The morning sun spilled across Leora's twin rivers, painting golden reflections on the water. Kai and Arya walked along the riverbank, talking about everything and nothing, childhood memories, colony life, and the changes the years had brought. Yet beneath their laughter and nostalgia, a quiet tension hummed. The galaxy beyond Leora was not safe, and Kai knew that all too well. Arya's gaze drifted toward the horizon, where the far edge of the colony met the rocky plains. "Have you heard about the Zarkin Collective?" she asked softly. Her voice carried no fear, only concern. Kai's heart tightened. "I have. They've been moving closer to human systems. Some colonies have already had encounters." Arya nodded. "We've been lucky so far, but luck isn't always enough." Kai could see her mind working. Arya had always been like that, a sharp mind, quick to solve problems. As children, she had solved puzzles and invented games with a creativity that amazed him. Now, facing potential danger from a powerful alien force, her brilliance felt even more vital. "I need to see the colony's defense systems," Kai said. "If the Zarkans are close, we can't wait for them to arrive. We have to be ready." Arya led him to the command center of the colony, a dome of glass and metal perched on a small hill overlooking the settlement. Inside, monitors flickered with streams of data, radar readings, communication logs, and star charts. Several technicians were already at work, adjusting defenses and checking ship readiness. The colony commander, an older man with streaks of silver in his hair, greeted Kai with a nod. "Kai, good to see you. I've heard about your work on other colonies. Your expertise will help us." Kai nodded. "I'm here to help. Tell me everything." Over the next few hours, Kai reviewed the colony's defense plans. Leora had grown since he had left. Turrets lined the perimeter, drones patrolled the skies, and sensors scanned the nearby space for threats. Yet, despite the upgrades, Kai saw gaps. Alien technology could outmatch human weaponry if the right strategies weren't used. Arya stood beside him, observing his analysis. "You still think like a child sometimes," she teased lightly. "Always looking for solutions that others might miss." Kai smiled. "And you still notice everything. Some things never change." The humor faded as alarms suddenly rang throughout the colony. Red lights flashed, and the monitors displayed multiple unidentified ships approaching from the outer systems. "They're here," the commander said, his voice tight. "The Zarkans, small fleet but fast and heavily armed." Kai's mind raced. The Zarkans were notorious for their advanced ships, capable of manipulating gravity fields and moving faster than most human engines. Even one of their vessels could devastate a colony if not prepared. Arya placed a hand on Kai's shoulder. "We can do this," she said firmly. "We've survived worse. We just need a plan." Kai nodded, feeling the old thrill of challenge he had loved as a child. The kind of challenge that demanded courage, creativity, and teamwork, the very traits that made humans unique in the galaxy. Together, Kai and Arya moved quickly. They divided responsibilities. Kai would oversee ship readiness and orbital defense systems, while Arya coordinated the colony's ground defenses and emergency protocols. As the alien ships approached, the colony buzzed with activity. Engineers hurried to turrets, pilots prepared for combat, and citizens evacuated to secure shelters. Kai climbed into the control deck of a defensive frigate, checking every system. He could feel Arya's eyes on him through the glass, offering silent support. "Remember," she said over the comms, "we fight smart, not just hard. That's how humanity survives." Kai smiled grimly. "I know, and we'll prove it again." The first Zarkan vessels entered Leora's space, their ships sleek, dark, and silent. The colony's turrets opened fire, but the alien shields absorbed most of the shots. Kai quickly calculated the angles, directing drones to create diversions and mislead the enemy sensors. Arya, on the ground, guided workers to activate energy barriers around key structures. Her orders were precise, her strategy flawless. Kai could see it, the human advantage, creativity, adaptability, and courage under pressure. The Zarkans fired back, striking at the colony's perimeter. Explosions rocked the landing pads and shattered several drone units. Citizens ran for cover and alarms blared across the colony. Kai's hands flew across the controls, maneuvering the frigate to intercept a strike that could have destroyed the water processing plant. "Almost there," he shouted to Arya. Cover the east perimeter. They're trying to flank us. Arya's voice was calm but firm. On it, divert all available drones, activate the gravity stabilizers. The strategy worked. The alien ships misjudged the colony's defenses and collided with each other, giving humans precious minutes to strengthen positions. Kai's mind raced with possibilities. Each move, each decision mattered. One mistake could cost lives. Hours passed. The battle was relentless. But Kai and Arya fought not just with weapons, they fought with ingenuity. Kai devised a plan to use the colony's mining drones as mobile decoys, confusing the Zarkan targeting systems. Arya rerouted energy to amplify the turrets' firepower, making them strike with unpredictable timing. Finally, the alien fleet, frustrated and outmaneuvered, began retreating toward the outer systems. Leora had survived, bruised but intact. The colony erupted in cheers, but Kai and Arya stayed near the command center, catching their breath. "We did it," Kai said, his voice tinged with relief. Arya smiled, though exhaustion shadowed her face. "We did, but this isn't over. The Zarkans won't forget this. They'll be back, and next time they might bring more ships." Kai nodded, the weight of responsibility pressing down. "Then we'll be ready. We always have been. Humanity survives because we adapt, because we fight with our minds, not just strength. That's who we are." Arya looked at him, admiration clear in her eyes. "You still have that fire, Kai. I see it, and it gives people hope. That's why I wanted you back here." Kai felt a strange warmth. Hope. It was not just about the colony surviving. It was about humans together, facing the impossible. And it was about being with Arya, the person who had reminded him of promises long ago. That evening, as the twin suns set over the rivers, the colony gathered in the central plaza. Fires lit up the square and people celebrated their survival. Children ran and laughed, mimicking the battles they had just witnessed. Elders shared stories of past dangers and triumphs. And through it all, Kai and Arya stood side by side, quietly observing. "You know," Kai said softly, "when I was a kid, I never imagined fighting aliens would be part of my life. I just thought I'd grow up and live a quiet life here with you." Arya looked at him, her gaze steady. "And yet here we are, fighting for the same home. Protecting what we love. Isn't that what matters?" Kai nodded. "It is. And maybe that promise I made as a kid still matters too. Because it's not about the past, it's about who we are now, together." Arya smiled, a mix of relief and hope shining in her eyes. "Then let's make sure we're ready for anything. Humanity isn't just lucky, it's strong. And we'll survive no matter what comes." As night fell, Kai walked with Arya back to the riverbank. The waters shimmered under the starlight, reflecting the vast galaxy beyond. Somewhere out there, the Zarkans waited, plotting their next move. But here, on this small world, humans had proven once again that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome almost anything. Kai looked at Arya, a sense of purpose settling deep inside him. The promise, the past, and the future, all intertwined. And as the stars twinkled above, he knew one thing for certain: humanity and their bond would endure. The battle had tested them. The galaxy would test them again. But together, Kai and Arya were ready. The morning sun rose over Leora, spilling soft light across the twin rivers. The battle from yesterday had left scars, craters along the perimeter, scorched earth near the landing pads, and damaged drones scattered like broken toys. But the colony was alive, and humans moved with purpose, repairing what they could, planning for the future. Kai walked beside Arya, both of them observing the colony's recovery. "The Zarkans won't give up," Kai said, his voice steady but low. "They'll come back, maybe stronger." Arya nodded. "We have to learn from them, understand them. Humanity survives because we adapt. That's what we'll do." Kai's eyes flicked toward the horizon. "I want to go out there, beyond the sensors, find out how they operate. We can't just wait." Arya studied him carefully. "It's dangerous. One wrong move and we could lose more than equipment." I know, Kai replied, determination in his voice. But we can't fight blindly. We need intelligence, something only a close approach can give us. Arya hesitated, then smiled faintly. I suppose it's time to test just how human we are. By mid-morning, the two were preparing a small scout shuttle designed for speed, maneuverability, and minimal detection. Engineers double-checked the systems, while the colony commander gave them last-minute advice. Remember, he said, humans survive because of courage and ingenuity. Trust your minds, your instincts, and each other. Kai nodded, glancing at Arya. We will. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the colony behind, rising through the thin atmosphere and into the blackness of space. Stars stretched in every direction, familiar yet always awe-inspiring. Kai guided the craft with steady hands while Arya monitored sensor readings, searching for traces of the Zarkan fleet. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional beep or alert from the shuttle's systems. Then on the edge of the sensor range, a dark formation appeared, small ships moving in precise formations. There they are, Arya said, her voice calm. The Zarkans. Kai squinted at the display. They're testing the outer perimeter, probably looking for weaknesses. Arya nodded. We can't engage. Not yet. We need more information. Let's get closer, just enough to gather data. As they approached, a sudden wave of energy struck the shuttle. The shields flickered. Kai quickly adjusted the thrusters, maneuvering through the invisible currents that threatened to throw them off course. They're testing us, he said grimly, trying to see if we'll panic. Arya's fingers flew across the console, analyzing the energy signatures. Their technology is advanced but not perfect. There's a pattern, look here. She pointed to a series of fluctuations. They're using pulse-based scanning. If we time our movements, we can avoid detection. Kai smiled. Just like humans, adapt and survive. The shuttle wove through the currents, guided by Arya's calculations and Kai's instincts. The tension was high, each second stretching like minutes, each movement carrying life-or-death weight. Yet in that tension, Kai felt alive in a way he hadn't for years. Childhood adventures had felt thrilling, but this, the universe pressing on him, the stakes unimaginable, was something far greater. Suddenly, the shuttle was pulled into a gravity anomaly. Space itself seemed to bend around them, twisting and dragging the small craft in unpredictable ways. The control panel flashed warnings. Kai, Arya shouted, we're caught in a field. We need to stabilize or we'll crash. Kai's hands flew over the controls. I know. Give me your readings, everything you've got on the field. Arya quickly inputted calculations, her mind racing. It's like a whirlpool in space, but it's unstable. We can escape if we create counterthrusts at precise intervals. Timing is everything. Kai's eyes narrowed. We can do this, together. Working in perfect sync, they maneuvered the shuttle, adjusting thrusters, balancing forces, and predicting the anomaly's shifts. Minutes felt like hours, but slowly, painfully, the craft began to stabilize. The stars returned to their normal positions and the shuttle floated free. Kai exhaled, leaning back in his seat. We made it. Arya smiled, wiping sweat from her forehead. That was too close, but we did it. That's human ingenuity for you, brains, courage, and a bit of stubbornness. Kai chuckled, though relief still shone in his eyes. You know, I always thought humans were strong because of weapons, but it's moments like this that's real strength. Adaptation, intelligence, teamwork. Arya looked at him, admiration clear. You've always believed in people, Kai. That's why you survive, and why we survive. The rest of the mission involved careful observation. They scanned the Zarkan ships, recording movement patterns, shield frequencies, and communication pulses. Every detail mattered. Humans had survived against alien forces before, not because they had the strongest ships, but because they understood, adapted, and innovated. As they prepared to return to Leora, an unexpected signal appeared, a small distress beacon. A cargo freighter, part of a nearby trade convoy, was under attack by a stray Zarkan scouting ship. We can't just leave it, Arya said immediately. Those people will die. Kai hesitated. It's risky. Our mission was reconnaissance, but humans don't leave others behind. Let's do it. Together, they approached the freighter, using stealth maneuvers to avoid detection by the Zarkin scout. Arya coordinated from the sensors while Kai piloted the shuttle with precision. When the scout fired, Kai dodged skillfully, drawing the enemy into a trap created by the freighter's own emergency defenses. Arya's calculations guided the freighter to adjust its shields at just the right moment, giving them the advantage. With combined effort, they disabled the scout without destroying it, leaving it drifting harmlessly in space. The freighter's crew cheered over the comms. "Thank you, we thought we were done for," Kai smiled. "Humans survive because we help each other. That's our advantage." As they finally returned to Leora, the colony glimmered in the distance, peaceful and safe for now. The battle had tested them, but so had the mission. Kai and Arya had survived the anomaly, gathered critical intelligence, and saved lives. Back on the surface, as they stepped from the shuttle, Arya said quietly, "You see, Kai, humanity doesn't survive because of size or strength. We survive because of courage, intelligence, and heart." Kai nodded, feeling the truth of her words deep in his chest. "And because we don't face challenges alone, we work together." Arya's hand brushed against his. "Just like we promised a long time ago." Kai's heart skipped. The words were simple, but their meaning was profound. Childhood promises had grown into something more: trust, respect, and shared determination. The galaxy might be vast and dangerous, but together, humans could endure anything. That night, as they walked along the river under the starlit sky, the twin moons casting silver reflections across the water, Kai felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Zarkins were a threat, yes, but humanity had survived worse. And with allies like Arya, he knew they could face any challenge. "Tomorrow," Kai said softly, "we prepare, we plan, and we make sure Leora and every human colony stands strong." Arya smiled, leaning on his shoulder. "And we'll do it together, just like always." Kai looked out at the horizon, where the first streaks of dawn touched the sky. The galaxy was enormous, full of unknown dangers. But on this small world, humans had proven their resilience, intelligence, and heart once more. And Kai realized more clearly than ever that the promise he had made as a child wasn't just a memory, it was a guide. A reminder that humans and the bonds they forged could survive anything. The night faded, giving way to morning. Leora's rivers sparkled, reflecting the endless stars above. And somewhere beyond, the Zarkins waited, unknowingly facing a species that thrived not on raw power, but on ingenuity, courage, and unity. Kai and Arya stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Together, humans had survived, and together they always would. The sun rose over Leora, but there was little warmth in its light that morning. A quiet tension gripped the colony. Scouts had returned with disturbing news. A large Zarkin fleet was approaching, far bigger than the previous group. This time, it wasn't just a test. They were coming to take the planet. Kai stood atop one of the observation towers, staring at the distant black shapes moving through space. His jaw was tight, mind calculating. "They've learned from last time," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "They know our defenses." Arya joined him, her face calm but determined. "Then we'll make them pay for underestimating humans. We adapt. We fight smart." Kai nodded. "Exactly. This isn't about who has the bigger ships. It's about who can think, who can change plans faster than the other." That's how humans survive. The colony's leaders gathered in the command center. Plans were laid out, defenses analyzed, and strategies debated. Kai suggested using a combination of mining drones, energy barriers, and the natural terrain to mislead and slow the Zarkin fleet. Arya coordinated ground teams, preparing automated turrets, energy shields, and evacuation routes for civilians. Every detail mattered. Every decision counted. Hours passed, and the first ships of the Zarkin fleet appeared on the horizon. Dark, sleek, and silent, they moved with precision and deadly intent. Alarms blared across the colony. Citizens scrambled to shelters while pilots took positions in defensive crafts. The air was thick with tension and the smell of burning fuel from preparations. Kai climbed into the control cockpit of a frigate, Arya at his side. "Remember," she said, voice calm yet commanding, "we fight together, every move counts, trust your instincts." Kai nodded. "We've survived worse. Humans adapt, humans survive, let's prove it again." The battle began with a violent roar. The Zarkin ships fired energy pulses that lit the sky, striking the colony's perimeter. Turrets returned fire, but the alien shields absorbed most attacks. Kai's mind raced, calculating angles, predicting enemy maneuvers, and directing drones to act as decoys. On the ground, Arya shouted commands. "Divert all energy to the North Barrier. Use the terrain to funnel them. Focus on protecting the civilians." The humans were outnumbered but not outsmarted. Kai and Arya worked in perfect coordination, adjusting strategies on the fly. Drones darted around the enemy ships, confusing their sensors. Turrets fired with unpredictable timing, striking weaknesses in the alien formation. In the midst of the chaos, a Zarkin strike hit the water processing plant. Explosions ripped through the structure, sending water and steam into the air. Civilians screamed as barriers faltered. Kai's heart raced. "Arya, they hit the plant. We have to protect it." Arya didn't hesitate. "Divert shield energy, deploy countermeasures, now." Within moments, the shields flared, absorbing the brunt of the attack. Drones swooped in to intercept debris, minimizing damage. The humans had turned disaster into survival again, relying on ingenuity and teamwork rather than brute force. Hours dragged on. The Zarkins pressed hard, striking at every weak point they could find. But humanity's creativity turned the tide. Mining drones were rigged to create false targets, drawing fire away from critical areas. Energy barriers were shifted at precise moments, causing Zarkin weapons to overshoot. Even the terrain was used as a trap, with narrow canyons channeling ships into kill zones. Kai's frigate weaved through enemy fire, drawing enemy attention while Arya guided ground defenses. "Almost there," Kai shouted over the comms. "Keep them busy while we hit the flanks." Arya's fingers flew across the control panels. "Drones are in position. Turrets are ready. Hit them when I give the signal." With perfect timing, Kai's team fired at the flanks of the Zarkin fleet while Arya's ground defenses struck from unexpected angles. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and confusion spread through the alien formation. The humans were relentless, adaptive, and smart. Finally, after hours of fighting, the Zarkin fleet began to retreat. The humans had outmaneuvered them, using brains, courage, and unity. Leora had survived, bruised and battered, but intact. The colony erupted in cheers, but Kai and Arya stayed at the command center, catching their breath. "We did it," Kai said, voice tired but satisfied. Arya nodded. "We did, but this fight, it's a reminder. The galaxy is dangerous. Humans survive because we never give up, because we think, adapt, and trust each other." Kai's eyes followed the retreating Zarkin ships, and because we fight for more than survival, we fight for our homes, for each other, for our future. The commander approached them, pride in his eyes. "You've done more than defend the colony. You've shown humanity's strength, brains, courage, and heart. That's why humans survive." Kai looked at Arya, their hands brushing. "We couldn't have done it alone," he said softly. Arya smiled. "We never are alone, not when humans fight together." As night fell, the colony celebrated. Fires lit the plazas, children ran through the streets, and elders shared stories of past victories. Kai and Arya walked along the river, observing the life they had fought to protect. The twin moons reflected in the water, a silent reminder of the galaxy beyond. Kai spoke quietly. "Do you ever wonder if we're really ready for what's out there?" Arya looked at him, eyes steady. We're never completely ready, but humanity survives not because we're perfect. We survive because we never stop trying, and we learn from every challenge. Kai nodded, feeling the truth of her words. And tomorrow we prepare again, for the next threat, for the future. Arya leaned on his shoulder. Together, Kai's heart tightened. The promise he had made as a child to stand by her side felt more alive than ever. It was no longer just a childhood memory. It was a bond forged in the fires of real battles, in courage and in hope. The night stretched on and the stars glimmered above. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Zarkans would plan their next move. But humans had proven themselves once again. Strength was not just in ships or weapons. It was in minds, hearts, and unity. Kai looked at Arya, determination and admiration shining in his eyes. No matter what comes, we survive. Humanity survives, and we protect what matters most. Arya smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. And together, nothing can break us. The colony had survived one of its greatest challenges. But for Kai and Arya, the battle was more than physical. It was a reminder of what it meant to be human, resourceful, courageous, and unwavering. And as the twin moons rose higher in the sky, Leora's rivers glimmered with the reflection of hope, determination, and the enduring spirit of humanity. The battle was over, but the legacy, the story of human courage, ingenuity, and unity, would continue. Kai and Arya stood side by side, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. Together, they knew humanity could face anything. Together, they knew their promise and their bond could endure, no matter the distance, no matter the danger. The twin suns of Leora rose slowly over the horizon, casting warm light over the recovering colony. The scars of battle were still visible, craters, burned-out drones, and damaged structures, but life was returning. Children played near the riverbanks again, elders repaired homes, and farmers tended to crops that had survived the Zarkan strike. Humanity was resilient, and the people of Leora proved it once more. Kai walked through the colony with Arya by his side. He noticed the subtle changes since the battle, new defenses being built, teams repairing ships, and citizens sharing stories of courage. Each small act reminded him why humans survived in a universe filled with dangers far greater than themselves. "They've learned from us," Kai said quietly. "The Zarkans, they'll be back, maybe bigger, stronger," Arya nodded. "Let them come." Humanity survives because we think, we adapt, and we never give up. That's our strength. Kai smiled faintly. And because of people like you, you've always reminded me of what it means to fight with your mind and your heart. Arya blushed slightly, a warmth spreading across her face. You've survived because you've always believed in humans, Kai, and in me. They walked together to the riverbank, where the water reflected the morning sun like a sheet of gold. The twin rivers had witnessed so much of their lives: childhood games, promises, separations, and now battles. It felt fitting to return to this place, to find peace and reflection in the same waters they had known as children. "You remember the promise?" Arya asked softly, looking at him with eyes that seemed to pierce through time. Kai hesitated. "Of course I do. I remember everything, but I wasn't sure it still mattered after everything that happened." Arya smiled gently. "It does. It always did. Promises aren't just words. They're reminders of who we are and what we stand for. And humans, we honor what matters." Kai's heart ached with a mixture of nostalgia and certainty. He had spent years exploring the stars, fighting alien fleets, and surviving challenges he could never have imagined as a child. But this promise, this bond with Arya, had remained. It had endured the passing of time, distance, and danger. "You know," Kai said quietly, "I used to think surviving in the expanse was only about skills, ships, and weapons. But now I see it's about more than that. It's about trust, courage, and bonds. Humanity survives because of what we care about and who we fight for." Arya's eyes glimmered. "Exactly, and we fought together, side by side. That makes us stronger than any enemy, smarter than any threat, and unbreakable in ways they can't understand. Kai nodded, reaching for her hand. The small gesture held more meaning than words ever could. Then, if the promise still matters, I want to keep it. Not because we're children, not because it was a dream, but because it feels right. Because you matter. And because humans fight for what they believe in. Arya's smile widened and she squeezed his hand. Then let's make it real. Not just a memory, but a choice. For today, tomorrow, and whatever comes next. Kai felt a surge of relief and joy. The promise that had once been innocent and childish had grown into something profound. It was no longer a simple vow. It was a shared commitment, a bond forged in memories, battles, and resilience. The day moved forward with repairs and celebrations. Citizens of Leora worked together, rebuilding homes, fortifying defenses, and sharing meals in communal gatherings. The atmosphere was light but purposeful. The Zarkans were a threat, yes, but humans had survived. And they had done so by working together, thinking creatively and never giving up. Kai and Arya took part in the work, side by side. They coordinated repairs, shared ideas for improved defenses, and encouraged the younger generation. Every act, every small contribution was a reminder of humanity's strength, not just as individuals, but as a species that thrived against impossible odds. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the colony gathered in the central plaza. Fires burned in safe containers, casting flickering light over the crowd. Children ran and played, mimicking the battles and heroic moments they had witnessed. Adults shared stories, laughter echoing over the plaza. And through it all, Kai and Arya stood together, quietly observing, feeling the pulse of their people. "You see," Kai said softly, "this is why we fight. Not for glory, not for conquest, but for life, for hope." "For each other," Arya nodded, "and we've proven it. Humanity survives because we never give up. We learn, we adapt, and we care. That's our real strength." Kai turned to her, his gaze steady. "Then, Arya, will you stand with me? Not as a promise of childhood, but as a choice we make today." Arya's eyes glistened with emotion. "Yes, today, tomorrow, and for all the days we're given, together." The twin suns set fully, leaving the rivers bathed in soft moonlight. The stars above shone brighter than ever, as if celebrating the victory of the colony and the promise of its people. The galaxy beyond was still dangerous, full of unknown threats, but humanity had endured and would continue to endure because of courage, intelligence, and unity. Kai and Arya walked along the riverbank, hand in hand, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. Battles fought, lives saved, and promises kept all led to this moment. And in that quiet reflection, they understood something profound. Humanity's survival wasn't just about skill or strength. It was about heart, determination, and the bonds that could never be broken. "The Zarkans will come again," Kai said quietly, "but we'll be ready." "We always are," Arya nodded, "and we'll face them together. Humans always do." The night deepened, and the river reflected the starlight like a silver ribbon stretching to infinity. Kai and Arya sat together on the riverbank, watching the water flow. For the first time in decades, Kai felt complete. The battles, the threats, and the uncertainty of the galaxy no longer seemed as overwhelming, because he wasn't alone. Arya was beside him. Humanity thrived around them. And the promise, once a childhood vow, had become a guiding light, an enduring reminder that even in the vast darkness of space, connection, courage, and hope could prevail. "We've survived so much," Kai whispered, "but I think the best is yet to come." Arya leaned against him, smiling. "The best is what we choose to make, together." And under the twin moons and endless stars, Kai and Arya made that choice. A choice to stand together to protect their people, to honor the bonds that had carried them through childhood, battles, and the vast unknown. For humanity, and for their promise, the future was theirs to shape. As the night stretched on, Leora's rivers glimmered, the lights of the colony twinkling softly. Somewhere far beyond, the galaxy waited, full of challenges and wonders. But the people of Leora and humans everywhere had proven one undeniable truth: ingenuity, courage, and unity could overcome almost anything. Kai and Arya rose from the riverbank, hands intertwined, ready to face whatever came next. Together they had survived, and together they would endure. Their promise had been renewed, not just in words, but in deeds, courage, and hearts. The story of humanity continued, stronger than ever, and the promise that began as a childhood dream had become a living reality. A bond that endured time, space, and the vast unknown. A reminder that humanity, no matter the challenge, could prevail. And as the stars shone above, Kai and Arya looked forward, ready to meet the future. Side by side, hearts united and humanity's spirit alive in every action, every thought, and every breath.